Since it's rainy season, have to do some stuff around the house. The grass wasn't perfect, so I had to get it all ripped up. The Brazilian thinks I'm a bit crazy, but it wasn't perfect. It had little patches on it and everything. I'll get the mic back. So, energy. In life, energy is an essential component. Like, we are energy, we produce energy, we use energy, we distribute energy. Everything is energy, as the saying goes, and it's so simple, it's true. And in the course of, growing something or striving or reaching potential, energy must be used. And after coaching literally thousands of people, when someone has low energy, I know it's for two basic reasons. Often, both of them are present, but one comes up more than the other in most people's lives. The first reason that you don't have, I don't say any energy, but as much energy as you would like, is because of unmade decisions. And I learned myself many, many years ago that when I had a series of unmade decisions or a series of commitments that were loose, or a series of things that I wanted to do and I maybe started doing them but I wasn't fully committed to, it was always a real cost energetically. That the things that I was thinking about were taking up massive amount of brain cycles, massive amount of emotional cycles, massive amounts of spiritual cycles, because they were there, but they wouldn't go away because I wouldn't put them in progress because I was not deciding to do something. And these can be very small things. These can be very tactical things, like daily things, like things you need to do but you're delaying. Or they can be very large things. They can be very large commitments. And I always say to people, the way to move forward is like align the head and the heart. And the closer they are together, the easier it is to move forward. And you see a lot of people making, small decisions, but they're out of alignment with their bigger decisions, the things that they feel, the things that they desire, and the things that they, that they know, and they're not fully committed to them. And this energetically performs gigantic amounts of drag, because there's a lot of energy, put into procrastination. There's a lot of energy put into perfection, and there's a lot of energy put into just rotating through that cycle that gets stuck in, and it's all just used up by sitting there like thinking or strategizing or wondering or oscillating and going back and forth on them maybe. And the way to get, that energy back is make decisions. And that often involves not just committing to something, but removing something as well. And a lot of decisions need to be made in the sense that the commitment not to do it is established, because that's just as valuable as the commitment to do it, because it takes something off the table. And that is the goal with any energy preservation, is just to take things off the table. If you're definitely not doing those things and you're definitely not committed to them, spending any time, energy, worry, wonder about them is literally pointless and burning, precious energy that you can use in the forward commitment. The second reason that people don't have any energy is boundaries. And in the form of all our relationships, we have different types of spoken and unspoken boundaries. And in my work, with clients and client relationships, I have boundaries around the client relationships. And the more clear I am about those boundaries, the more energy I have and the more correct expectations my clients have as well. And a lot of people who are in the service of others, coaching, consulting, mentorship, agency, etc., have very weak boundaries. So what happens is expectations penetrate their energy. And what happens is that people come in asking questions that at the wrong time, or times that are inconvenient, and people are constantly reactive to those things, and they're depleted all the time. And having the correct boundaries, especially I'm talking, correct boundaries in your relationship is one thing. If I made a video about that, would be here for a very long time. But correct boundaries in, the business frame is setting clear expectations with clients, setting clear expectations about what they can expect up front, what they can expect over the long term, what they can expect in terms of response from you, the way to communicate what expectation they have in that communication, and the channels that you use. Because if you have clear boundaries, then everybody knows where they stand. Everybody knows where, how to get help. Everybody knows that if they have something that's urgent, on how to communicate in that channel. Or if they have something that's not so urgent, how to communicate in another channel. And it's in the service of other people, it's just about clearly communicating those things. Because if they're not clearly communicated, then they take on a life of their own, and resentment or misalignment can build up on both sides, where the provider you is constantly reactive to clients and feels, sometimes quite bitter about it, because they're like, oh, they're constantly asking me questions, etc. Yeah, it's because you haven't set a channel to ask questions, or you haven't pre-answered questions, and dealt with things up front, so those questions aren't even answered. And clients get frustrated on the other side, and they get anxious because they're not being communicated with, or they get anxious that their expectations aren't being met in terms of response times or channels or those things. So, energy is, if it's not everything, it's damn near everything. And preserving it, using it, understanding it, channeling it, managing it is, a massive, massive part of the game. Because the things that we turn energy into are the things that ultimately power our life. The things that we turn into energy into creativity and money, we turn into relationships, we turn it into meaning, and keeping as much of it as we can so we can give it deliberately is a gigantic part of the game. Because it's a huge part of the game of how you feel good about the game, how you reach your potential. It's how you get money and so many things. So understanding where it's stuck, where it's trapped, and where you're not able to give it, or how you're not able to channel it is really important. So get some energy back. It's always simpler than you think. Make the decisions, make the commitments, and it will come flowing back in, and you can let it flow back out again the way that you want to.